I think there's an interesting news or update, I would say, when it comes to Zebic currently, because not too long ago, Zebic Cards, they made a post on X. And what was that about, right? They talked about how Zebic is adding its 16th chain. I think very impressive. Number 16, that's very wonderful and a pretty big achievement. And it's going to be Zano, allegedly the first ever privacy blockchain on Zebic, which I think, again, is a pretty major victory because it just feels like Zebic is consistently doing things. And as of right now, privacy seems to be a big narrative for some projects out there. Like, for instance, we see a project like Cody, this allegedly privacy-centric Ethereum layer 2. We take a look at also a bunch of other projects out there, but again, if I just kept mentioning it, it would be a little bit boring. But I think the general kind of narrative here is that when it comes to privacy, it seems to be something that people do care about. And again, when it comes to something like Zebic, I think it's a pretty good victory at the end of the day. Now, people again may be thinking, okay, take a look at the price of ZBCN and why isn't really doing much. Well, again, news like this is not necessarily going to do much for the price of ZBCN. If anything, really, I think during a time where altcoins aren't necessarily doing the best. Now, some altcoins out there, despite the pullback, they're having a slight recovery, but really it's nothing significant in the grand scheme of things. It's just very minuscule, I think. So then at the same time, people like to say, oh, but all this stuff is going on when it comes to Zebic, the Zebic cards, what's going on with the price? Again, if there is no fully fledged type of altcoin season, if there is no really good sentiment when it comes to altcoins, or even just for Zebic in general, ZBCN I don't think is really going to do much. So then instead of, worrying too much about that, I'd rather just focus on the fundamentals, and I do like the fundamentals, what I'm seeing here. And this kind of gives me more so of a good belief. Now, I'm not telling them to do anything or do what I'm doing. However, it just gives me somewhat this belief and this somewhat kind of reassurance that, you know what, this project is fundamentally heading in the right direction, which is why I'm still dollar cost averaging into ZBCN and not giving up. I am not into knowing the exact moment in time ZBCN is going to do this or do that. What I'm into is just preparing for a moment in time in which ZBCN does wake up. Because some people like to say, oh, ZBCN is going to do this at this time or at this time. Well, in my opinion, of course, it's going to depend on a case-by-case basis, but I do not know the future, right? So I will not know the exact moment in time ZBCN is going to do this or do that. Like, for instance, I did not know ZBCN was going to do that back then in terms of the rally, but I was holding anyways. So I'm kind of glad I did because, of course, now, despite the pullback, it's still way better than before. And also, if I had tried to predict the exact moment in time, I could have very well easily missed out on that initial run. And also the pretty okay recovery despite the slight pullback that we see as of right now when it comes to ZBCN. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. It's all about preparation for me instead of worrying about the exact moment in time. Now, when it comes to ZBCN, though, the idea of 10 cents, why is that still on my mind? It's because I just don't think the market cap would be too crazy at that point, at least to me. Considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $9 billion, around a 22x from here. A $9 billion market cap wasn't even like 5% of what XRP reached in terms of market cap not too long ago, which was approximately 200 billion. So it's not something too outlandish, and also around a 22x from here, it's not going to be the best hypothetical upside. I'm totally aware of that. And how can it, right? I mean, it's not like anything too groundbreaking in the grand scheme of things, but then at the same time, I do not mind because I am not looking for a microcap, but I'm not looking for some random kind of massive market cap project either. So for me, this is what I'm looking for, a pretty decent project with a pretty decently sized market cap with a good community. And I feel like this is what I'm seeing here, even though, again, I'm not telling anyone to do anything when it comes to ZBCN. And I kind of like the market positioning when it comes to Zebic, because if we take a look at the direct competitors when it comes to ZBCN, I think we'll see something like XDC, we'll see something like SwiftCoin, XPR, and as well as XCN, aka Onyx Coin. And that's if we remove the market leaders like Ripple and Stellar, or should I say XRP and XLM. That's not that many, in my opinion, in the grand scheme of things. And I think Zebic, beyond bringing just kind of the aspect of being focused on payments and global trade and finance, it brings a unique touch. For instance, AI-based PayFi, we take a look at payrolls. We take a look at, for instance, also, of course, the Zebic cards, which I get it is really nothing that revolutionary, but it's still a pretty good aspect. And also, of course, again, payments and global trade and finance. But then if we remove that, I think it's pretty focused on good markets in the grand scheme of things. And it's kind of diverse in terms of what it's focused on. So I do like what I'm seeing here. It also has an aspect of Solana, which I do like. Solana, I think, is a very amazing layer one blockchain. And not to mention, Solana Ventures, one of the backers when it comes to Zebic, even something like Circle, which is the creator of USDC, that's one of the early backers when it comes to Zebic, and it also holds allegedly a significant amount of ZBCN. So I find that very impressive. I like the backing when it comes to Zebic, I like the fundamentals, I like its focus, and I like the news that I'm seeing here. So I'm staying patient, holding, and just waiting, and just preparing. That's about it. But then the idea of 10 cents, that's still on my mind. Whenever ZBCN does decide to have that next leg up, I just want to be prepared by just holding, and that's about it. However, again, I do like what I'm seeing when it comes to Zebic, fundamentally speaking, as of right now. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Bunny the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.